This video of the unknown. What is it? Is it real? And what is it doing there?
Now they're speaking out, saying there are UFOs in U.S. airspace and they need to be taken seriously.
A family in Highland, Michigan believes their house is actually haunted and thinks something is harming their little girl. They're unidentified in U.S. airspace.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real.
I'm Todd Bates. I've been investigating the paranormal for years, yet still have no definite answers. Join me on this mysterious journey as we discuss all things paranormal, right down to the little gnomes. Why do millions experience these mysterious phenomenon, yet we have no proof? Welcome to Haunted Voices Radio, where I try and gather the pieces that may one day form yet another puzzle. And good evening, one and all. Welcome. Haunted Voices Live right here on WLTK-DB.com. That's the place to go. You can watch over there. You can listen over there. We have got an amazing show planned for you tonight. Hopefully all of your Christmases were nice and warm, filled with love and joy and gifts and everything. Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas. And I want to take a second and congratulate Candy Howard. She was the winner of the book I gave away Christmas Day. She had, it was a contest for fondest memory. It was, oh my goodness, there were so many of them. So hard. Sherry chose the winner and Candy was the winner. It was amazing. The memory was amazing. If you guys want to read that, you can go to my Facebook and read it. The main wall there, the Haunted Voices wall. You can read the fondest memories. Really neat, but it was really neat to run that contest on Christmas Day and everything. And then, of course, I want to take a second here. I've got a huge thank you to Jacob Rice for this and an audio interface. I cannot thank him enough for contributing to the station. Such an amazing gift, and the voiceovers are better. The ghost finders thank him. We just did a first round there through with this new mic. It was amazing, completely different. So thank you, Mr. Jacob Rice, for that. Excuse me. And we have some help here at the station as well. So welcome Mike Hatcher. He's the executive producer over there at Paraflix. And he's going to be helping run some shows here, do some back-end production work here at the station. So you'll see him around. Mike Hatcher, remember the name, great guy. And he's going to be starting around the holiday, after the holidays and everything. So we got some help here finally, and new shows. New shows are coming. We have 3 of them this month. My goodness, we've got Twilight Tonight with Dee Dee Moonflyer. That debuts next week, January 6th at 6 p.m. Central, Friday night. Friday nights are packed full now. They are totally full. We have another great show coming, Soul and Synergy Radio. That's going to be airing Friday mornings at 10 a.m. starting January 20th. So some really great shows coming to the station. Hi, Diana. Hi. Oh, my goodness. Hi, Stephen. Yeah, he sees our guest, who our guest is tonight. And of course, Mr. Stephen Wren's going to be here. We've got none other than Richard Kimmel coming on the show tonight. He has been on Haunted Voices, my goodness, several times. We are honored to have him each time. He is a wealth of information. He is a World War II veteran, combat photographer, paranormal archaeologist. And you guys are going to learn what that is tonight. You're going to learn what that is. And it's amazing what this man does with a pendulum. It is absolutely amazing. We're going to talk about that, some Hindenburg history. all kinds of cool stuff like that. All that's coming up here. And we're going to chomp at the bits no longer. And we're going to get this. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, Mr. Richard Kimmel is going to be here. Haunted Voices. Stay tuned.
Certified psychic medium Stephanie Lynn creates an authentic connection between the living and the spirit world. Stephanie knows she is here to help heal, educate, and provide validation that there is more after death, and allows herself to be a conduit and work as a team with spirit to pass on messages from their world to ours. Stephanie Lynn also works as a spiritual life coach to help you achieve, create, and manifest your best self and life. Looking for help communicating with an animal? Searching for a past life regression therapist? Or dealing with a paranormal experience? Stephanie Lynn is here to help. For a list of full services, visit her on Facebook under Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. That's Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. Ellie Weisensel's psychic medium is a medical intuitive that specializes as a body code practitioner. As an energy healer, Ellie offers additional services that allow her modalities to be intertwined with energetic healing. Within your subconscious lies information that knows everything about you and why you deal with specific conditions. The subconscious can be considered the blueprint to your entire body. With Ellie working physically with your subconscious mind, we detect what negative emotions are trapped and where they are stored within the body that is causing you your emotional and physical pain. This work is designed to remove imbalances and correct them energetically, getting to the root cause of why you have your condition, to help balance your body so it may heal itself. Your body is infinitely wise and wants to be in balance. The body code is not only gentle for humans, but it is also a gentle process to help animals. For more information, contact Ellie Weisensel at the website below.
Seven minutes past the hour. You guys are tuned in to Haunted Voices Radio. I'm your host, Todd Bates. Tonight we have an amazing show. It's New Year, and we are all going to sit back and screw up and learn something tonight. I promise you, because this man, Richard Kimmel, like I said, he's been on the show several times, and it's great to have him back. He is a World War II veteran, combat photographer. This man is a paranormal investigator with the New Jersey Ghost Organization. He's been there, done that in a lot of different places. He's a wealth of knowledge. So without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Richard Kimmel to the show. Richard, how are you, my friend?
Oh, wonderful, Todd. I'm glad to be here tonight.
Oh, it's great to have you. It's I tell you what, it's way past both of our bedtimes.
Oh yeah. I have one little correction to make.
Sure.
I grew up during World War II. I wasn't a World War II veteran. I was in during the Korean War.
Close enough to me, my friend. I do apologize. Thank you for your service nonetheless.
Thank you.
Now, what I want to talk about is your start. What got you into this path, the strange and bizarre path. The history had to have led you there, but the path where it turned to a not so normal sense. What led you there, Richard?
Well, actually, growing up during World War II, when the GIs came home after the war, and they brought a lot of souvenirs with them, and they were giving these souvenirs out to the neighborhood people in the neighborhood, and I received from my neighbor a German wound badge, and when I held this, it gave me a strange feeling. I couldn't explain it. I knew nothing about the paranormal at that point. And holding it, it just gave me some chills on it holding this badge. After that, I found that by holding certain World War II artifacts, I started collecting them. And a lot of them gave me these funny feelings. So I didn't know what to do with it. And sitting one evening at home recuperating from heart surgery, I was watching a TV show where they were using pendulums.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't really serious. They were playing games with them. And I said to myself, I would like to make myself a pendulum. Shut the TV off, went to bed, woke up the next morning. The mail was delivered, and in the mail was a wooden keychain in the form of a cross. And I said to myself, I'm going to make a pendulum out of this. So I took a piece of cotton string, attached it to the wooden cross, and this was a blessed wooden cross. It came from a religious organization looking for a donation. And I held the cross over one of my artifacts. And without giving it any direction, which I never do, it started to rotate. I said to myself, there's energy coming from this. Something's making that rotate. And from that point on is when I got really involved in collecting haunted military artifacts, specifically from the World War II period. I still collect them today whenever I can, find one. And I check these things out. What actually happened, Todd, very interesting. When I was in the service, I was a regimental photographer, and I was stationed down Fort Knox, Kentucky at the time, and I was in training, helping to train other cycles, and on one training session, I was taking pictures of a patrol coming back from just a training exercise. And it was a 6-man patrol. And I was snapping pictures, and I processed them the next day. Now, mind you, at that point in time, there was no digital cameras. And when I saw my negatives, I printed it out, and it was very strange because on the one negative, you can see the patrol and 2 figures in the front, 2 figures in the back, and in the center was a very faint image. I found out later that this one member of the patrol was injured very badly on the exercise, and they took him to a field hospital that they had set up, and he passed away.
Oh.
And I said to myself, wow, but I didn't, I just wasn't involved in the paranormal at that time. And I just couldn't believe what I saw. Unfortunately, as a good boy, which I always am, I turned all my negatives into the signal corps at our unit. And I wish today I would have kept that negative, because you can't do with a negative that you can do with digital.
Right, right.
So this was the first experience that I had.
And plus, you have that tangible evidence too. You with the negative, you have something to hold. With the digital, you don't. So
Right.
yeah, I can see where your regrets would be.
So I had that. So everything came together, and in later years, my daughter Karen, my oldest daughter, she formed what you mentioned before, NJGO, New Jersey Ghost Organization, and we became very active. We had a fairly large group at the time, and all I did with the group was use my pendulum to detect energy. If we were going to a house to investigate, I would walk through every room in the house, and where my pendulum rotated without giving any direction, the psychic that was with me would make notes of where the energy was coming from. And then we would go to those particular spots, and our psychic would try to communicate with whatever was there. And it worked out pretty well most of the time. There were times where we didn't pick up much energy on an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it was very unusual. I never direct the pendulum. It will rotate clockwise when it picks up energy. And it was very interesting on it that I started working that way. And I still do that way with the group. I'm not psychic. I'm not clairvoyant.
But do you have, Richard, like delayed conversations? Do you ask yes or no responses? Do you ask questions with the pendulum as well? Or do you just read the energy from it?
I just read the energy. Now, no one else in the group can do that. They've tried using my pendulum. It just doesn't work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that on artifacts. Once I get an artifact that I'm getting energy from, and I have quite a few, I will contact one of our psychics, and I will let them hold the artifact. I don't tell them what it is or where it's from, okay, or what energy is coming from it, and they tell me when they make contact with whatever's there in their way, and they'll tell me things that I already know about, that I already know about the pendulum or about the artifact, which I never told them anything, and they tell me things that I didn't know about it. And when I research those little pieces of history, 90% of the time, they prove to be factual. So we work together that way. And I still do that to this day yet on it. So I'm trying my best to keep myself going, with these. And I just can't understand sometimes, why a spirit is connected to a specific artifact. Well, when they do their handling of the artifact, a lot of times there's residual energy connected to it.
Yeah, that's what I would think. A lot of it would be residual.
But once in a while, we will get an actual spirit coming through to the psychic, not to me. And then they tell me what's happening on it. So it works out very well most of the time.
Well, I like how the team uses mediums. There's, and we've talked about this on shows in the past as well, how so many of us rely on standard equipment, advanced equipment. We're not relying on our own senses anymore.
Right.
Like you with the pendulum and the object, you detect that this object has a certain amount of energy and you validate it with a medium. There's no piece of equipment that can pick that up that we have, that I'm aware of. And I wish more investigators would use their senses more like that. I think we'd be a lot further than what we are.
Well, we had to do an investigation, a repeat of an investigation for the Maury Povich show that we were on. And it was very strange because I went around to the rooms and I mentioned residual hauntings, okay? And I walked into an actual residual haunting in this house. That was the very first one that I ever walked into.
Mm.
And it took me back. Well, it took the ghosts. They are ghosts. They're not spirits. Took me back in their time when I walked into this. Now I could see them. I could listen to them. I couldn't communicate with them because they're in their time. And that was the very first residual that I walked through. And it was very, very, interesting. I've had several other residuals. I mentioned one to you, Todd, the other day. I don't know whether you want to jump ahead a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of this show. We can take it however it goes, Richard, and I'd love to hear that experience.
But it happened on the Queen Mary, and you were there that time. You were there the time my wife and I were out there, and it was very interesting. My wife and my younger son was with her, and they were on the Queen Mary. If people are not familiar with the Queen Mary, it was a ship that was used during World War II to transport German prisoners back here to the States. And they repainted the Queen Mary in in a completely gray paint, the exterior. And on the forward deck, there was a gun mount yet, and on the rear, there's a gun mount. And I was up on the bow of the ship filming this gun mount that my son and wife were down by. And I started walking towards them. And as I was walking, out of nowhere, a swarm of bees came. And my video camera was still running. And as I walked through, I could hear them, see them. I couldn't touch them. I tried to wave them away a couple of times, and they couldn't touch me. I felt very strange about that because I could see my son motioning to me to come, and they were yelling to me to come. Could not hear them. The next morning, I spoke to one of the officers on the ship. I told them about the experience, and they said that's one of their hauntings on the ship. It's residual. It comes every so often when the conditions are right. That's just one of the hauntings they have on the ship. So that was very, very interesting. And I have this on video. So I can see it anytime I want to, look at it on there. It's on a disc, and it was my real first experience on it.
And that can signify any kind of strange occurrence as well. The
Yes.
bees. People just assume that a haunting just means a ghost or an apparition or a sighting or something. Something, bees, flies are another one. They just kind of manifest like that. That's amazing, though, Richard.
Well,
that
see,
you encountered it, because I've heard of it but never encountered it.
ghosts, you can't communicate with them. Human spirits, you can communicate. So sometimes, individuals get confused between the two. And it becomes very interesting sometimes. You know, some of the interesting investigations that our group has been on, it just is mind-boggling. I know.
What's one in particular that just pops out and was maybe an investigation that really took you over that point to where, okay, I'm in the paranormal, this is legitimate, something's going on, I can't explain this. Have you had an investigation like that just wowed you?
The only investigation that I can recall that was very similar to that was in one of the houses that we were in. We used to actually have our meetings in a haunted house.
Nice.
And all of a sudden, the lights started to blink, go on and off, go on and off. I knew it. And this house goes back to revolutionary times. In fact, it's right here in the next town over from East Brunswick, where I live. And it really made us think a little bit, you know, what's happening here? And at first we couldn't put our finger on it. We thought maybe it was something with the electricity in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, or fortunately, we found out later that this is what happens with one of the spirits that are in that house. That's how they try to communicate, to let you know that they're there. So it becomes very, very interesting sometimes. As I said before, we've been on many investigations, and some of them stand out, you know, very vivid. You know, but I want to make sure that people understand that, you know, there's a major difference between ghosts and between spirits.
Yeah. And we can expand on that too. You know, you have a ghost, which is kind of like a record player playing over and over, right?
Right. That's a residual. And that plays when the conditions are right. That will play, and it's like a recording that just plays over and over and over again. I know it, but the conditions have to be right for that. I know it, for that to happen. I know it, and it usually happens when you least expect it to happen. We've been on many investigations where we've been all night, and one is, you know, as we mentioned when we talked earlier, that it happened on the Hindenburg when we investigated hangar number 1. And that's the latest book that I wrote, was The Ghost of the Hindenburg.
Just so happen to have a copy of that, Richard.
Here's a copy of it. But that was I feel that was probably our best investigation. We were invited to spend the night in hangar number 1.
Wow.
At Lakehurst, New Jersey. And that hangar is extremely haunted. Extremely haunted. And the first experience we had there was where one of our members put their video camera down, and for some uncanny reason, all of a sudden, the battery compartment flew open, and the batteries actually flew out of the camera, or maybe about 10, 15 feet.
Whoa.
And our other individuals that were with us on the investigation, on their cameras, okay, their batteries would go very quickly on them. Something was sapping the energy you know, from these with the batteries. You know, but hangar number one is a very haunted hangar, and it's amazing on the how large that hangar is. You know, and pardon when I say this, I had to use the one bathroom in the hangar,
Mm-hmm.
and when I went in, I felt somebody was looking over my shoulder,
Oh, no way.
and I found out later that that bathroom was not there before, but that was where they put some of the bodies from the Hindenburg before
Oh,
they
my.
moved them. You know, and it's all in my book, but it's a fantastic investigation, you know, that we did on it, and we were really tired at the end of that one because it saps your energy, you know, and you know, we actually saw one of the spirits that climb all the way up to the top of the hangar, because the control was on the outside of the hangar, on the top of the hangar, and it was just, it just came at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but as I said, you know, I really enjoyed writing the book because it
It's
was
very well written.
the
It's
best
easy to
experience, the
follow.
best experience that we had. It was the best one we've ever had. You know, although we've had many of them on it, but this was one that you know, it's hard to forget this on there once you do something like that.
It's monumental. I mean,
Oh,
it's really, it's rising above and getting it because that's a huge area.
oh yeah.
That's just massive.
That hangar is unbelievable on it. In fact, there's a group that comes in to the hangar, and they fly gliders in there. They make them themselves, these little planes,
Hmm.
and they send them up, and then they cut the energy from it, and it will stay up there for a half hour, working its way down. That's how big that hangar is, and the atmosphere in the hangar.
Wow.
But it really is uncanny. I know it.
And just imagine all of that residual and I think there's probably some intelligent energy in there as well too, Richard, don't you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's to have something of that size and you go in there with your pendulum, that's got to be overwhelming for you, isn't
It
it?
is. It's unbelievable. You'd have to really experience it in order to. But I get the chills just talking about it. Because, like I said, that was the I think the most important investigation that we went on in years, and we've been doing this for the last, oh God, almost 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and research these days, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
There's a lot of red tape. There's more red tape than what there used to be. You've got to be extra careful. And what I like is your approach. Now, do you guys use standard equipment as well? Use analog or digital recorders or anything like that, Richard? Or do you just strictly go by sense?
No, we use digital recorders, okay, to hopefully record, you know, voices onto it. We I belong to the East Brunswick Elks,
Mhm.
and the Elks is a very haunted building. It goes way back into history, and we had a meeting one night, and we were all sitting by the table. Now, occasionally, a revolutionary soldier haunts part of that building. There's a
Oh, wow.
burial ground on the grounds itself. That there was a small skirmish there during the Revolutionary War, and I'm sorry, not the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. There was a skirmish there, and there is revolutionary soldiers buried there also, because it goes way back this property. And it was very interesting because we're sitting at the table, and one of the, all of a sudden the psychic says, there's a soldier standing over in the corner. She saw him. And all of a sudden, he came. We could feel it. We could actually feel it. And I got around, and one of our members that was asking some not too intelligent questions, I guess he didn't like that. And he knocked our member right off the chair.
Oh.
All of a sudden, the chair went backwards onto it, and that was it. And, it was, very, 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 very strange onto it, because it's just unbelievable onto it. I can't, it's hard to explain these when you get an investigation like that. But,
it is. You have so many things happening around you that you're questioning them all. You're trying to make sense of what's going on, and it's tough to get it all organized and everything. And then you have someone fall back in their chair, like you said.
But that's the only thing that we use on it. Myself with the pendulum and a voice recorder. We don't use any of this fancy equipment they use today. We don't feel it's necessary, because a spirit is, or a ghost is going to make an appearance in some form. They're going to do it, when the conditions are right, and you can't control that. You can't command a spirit to appear. You just can't do that. It doesn't work. And they do this all the time, I see on some of the shows with ghost hunters and that. They're sitting there with all the fancy equipment, which you don't really need, and they're commanding these people to come forward.
Yeah, it's tough.
It really is on it. And it's, like I said, a spirit will appear, when they want to. You can't say, appear now. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work on it. And we do keep things very simple, and we don't, do anything out of the ordinary. We do the investigation.
Yeah, you evaluate.
The investigation should be done. And then we sit down, we analyze what evidence we had. The next day, we'll analyze the voice recordings. We do pick up certain things. Certain things are unexplainable. It just is, I can't stress any more than that. We've had several experiences at cemeteries, and it just is, it's hard to explain onto it. I tried to do this in all of my books, and one of our books is on all of our major investigations here in central New Jersey that we have. And, it just, it's mind-boggling sometimes, Todd. I'm getting up in years. I'm 87 years old now, and I try to think back with certain things that we did, and I get reminders once in a while. And I'm going to tell you something very strange, Todd.
Okay.
I didn't tell you this before. The building I live in is a senior apartments. And a lot of handicapped people are in here. But when my wife Ellen was still alive, she passed away in 2018. Shortly after she passed away, I had a dream, and it was a long gray hallway with doors on each side. And funny as it seems, she had to use the restroom. And she's walking down this hallway and got to the end of it. On the right-hand side was a door. She opened the door, went in. I woke up. The funny thing is, when I moved here a year ago, the hallways on all the floors are gray. There's doors on both sides.
Wow.
And my apartment is that end door on the right. And this was foreseen before I even thought about moving here.
That's not coincidence, my friend.
I know. And strange as this may seem, I did not want to, because my wife and I, we were together for 62 years before she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
We met in high school. When I went to the service, we broke up, came out of the service, we got together again, you know, and then everything came from there. And I have her ashes with me. I didn't want to put her in the ground, you know, and I'll be living right next to her soon. Not soon, I hope, but one of these days.
Oh, you're like the Indiana Jones of the paranormal, Richard.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Exactly what you are, my
It's
friend.
hard to explain, you know, but I always tell people, you know, that skeptics are simply closet believers until they have an experience. Once they have an experience, they're no longer a skeptic.
You can't go back, can you? You really can't. Once you have an experience of your own, you cannot go back.
That's right.
You can't unsee. You can't unhear.
We did one thing on one investigation. My youngest son, his wife, his father, may he rest in peace now, came with us on one investigation. And we knew that the third floor, this was the, oh gosh, I can't think of it now. And it was a prison that is haunted. And we took him up to the third floor. And we left him there with one of the psychics. And when he came down, he was no longer a skeptic. He couldn't believe what was going on up in on that third floor. This was in Mount Holly, New Jersey, the Mount Holly prison. And it's no longer a prison on there. They have a prison next to it now, but this is the old original one.
The old original. And
it's unbelievable. You know, and we don't do things purposely to scare people, you know, like that, because you can really, you know, give somebody a heart attack sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many distractions, we'll call them, for skeptics. There's a, and I had an encounter with one during a tour years ago, and he didn't believe in any of this, and all I saw was myself in him, because I was a skeptic too when I first started. I didn't believe in any of this. Well, he had this incident, and we're down there doing an EVP session. All of a sudden, he comes bolting forward and starts, you know, grumbling and warding off something. I guess something grabbed him. We were in an old theater, something had grabbed him from in one of the dressing rooms. And I said, well, look, you could have bumped into somebody. He says, no. He said, this was an old, cold, dead hand.
Oh
And
gosh.
he was turned from that point forward. It was, and it's good. Because like you said, you can't unsee it. You can't unhear it. You can't forget about it. Once you cross that line, you cross that line.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's very, it's hard for people to believe sometimes on it that when you tell them something, they have difficulty believing it. And like I said, until they experience
So they
something,
experience it.
can happen anytime, no matter where you are on it. It can happen anytime. And it's happened to us many times on it, especially at night. Well, listen, let me say one thing. You don't have to do an investigation and wait till the evening, till it's dark, make it dark. Broad daylight, things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it has happened that way several times. I've been out to the Bob, when we were we met in California on the Queen Mary that time.
Mm-hmm.
And you were down by the swimming pool.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And I had forgotten that you had told me that there's a little girl that haunts that area.
Mm-hmm.
Down there. And I didn't get any feelings. I didn't use my pendulum down there at all. But it was very interesting on there that this. I don't know what group it was that you were with out there at that time that were doing a big investigation there.
Yeah, I was with an Arizona team that time.
Oh yeah, that's right. But the experience is just unbelievable. I don't know how many people watching have had experiences in the paranormal aspect on it, but I'm sure many have on it, and a lot of people are afraid to talk about these things.
But more are coming forward, Richard. More are coming forward.
I have one thing I didn't mention, Todd, of my wartime artifacts. I have a flag. It's the German flag from World War II. And this was given to me by a friend of mine in England. And he had that in a special room where he keeps his different things that he collects. And his sister stayed over one night. And she woke up for some reason in the middle of the night, and standing at the foot of her bed was a German pilot in full uniform.
Wow.
So she was very frightened. She says, "You have to get rid of that flag under any circumstances." So what did he do with it? He sent it to me. But the thing is, I still have it. And when I first received it from him, my family is German, and I could say a few things in German on it, but I told him, because the spirit in English, I told him, I said, I will respect you as long as you respect me.
Mm-hmm.
And his sister in Germany had given almost all his artifacts, which she didn't give him. She sold a lot of his artifacts, including the flag. And different people have them. And he checks on his artifacts every so often, because he feels that she shouldn't have done that, but unfortunately at the time she needed money, so she sold them. Now the flag is the flag that draped his coffin.
Wow.
He was shot down in the last few days of the war.
Mm.
He was a dive bomber pilot, a dive bomber, and he didn't make it. I have a picture of his gravestone, and I have an actual piece of his gravestone that was sent to me, given to me. And I have no problems with the flag because, as I said, I told him I will respect you as long as you respect me. And I know when he's here. I always know when he's here checking on his flag. I smell pipe smoke. And nobody in our house smoked when I had my own house. And I know he's there.
Wow.
You know, because German pilots, they did smoke pipes. They did smoke pipes under it.
That would be a dead giveaway for sure.
Oh, so I know when he's here, you know, and believe it or not, this may sound strange, you know, I say goodnight to him every night
That's understandable.
in German. I say to him, Gute Nacht, Hauptmann. He was a captain, you know, and I thank him for being here, watching over everything. And, you know, like I said, I know when he's here.
Wow.
I've never seen him myself. But like I said, I know when he's here.
There's that presence. There's a presence that's letting you know he's there. Like you said, the pipe smoke, probably just an energy shift itself.
Yeah. Well, see, what happened, this is very strange, I knew it. I had a good friend of mine. He's passed away since. He spoke fluent German. And he had a friend in Germany. When he was in Germany in World War II, he was with intelligence. And after the war, he was in charge of the all the documents and everything that were used in the war trials. And very strange, I know it, but he got to meet a lot of German officers. And the funny thing is that he would, you know, talk to them in German because he spoke fluent German.
Sure.
That's why they had him in charge of all of the artifacts and everything, that the papers, the documents, all of this stuff. And he said to me, Rich, one time, he says, I want you to go to New York with me. I want you to meet somebody. So we went over to New York. The hotel where the individual was staying, all of a sudden, we're sitting there in a dining area, and in walks this individual, comes over to us, sits down. This was Hans Rudel, the famous Stuka pilot. He was the most decorated German officer in World War II. In fact, they had to make a special award for him, a pilot badge with diamonds in it.
My goodness.
He was ordered in the last days of the war into Germany with his little squadron that he had. His orders were to land on a certain Strasse, a certain street, which was very close to Hitler's underground headquarters in those last days. And his orders were that he was to land there and he was to fly the Fuhrer out of Germany.
No pressure.
So he landed there with his squadron. German officer came to the plane and told him he's to stay here until he gets further orders. And then the officer came back about maybe 10, 15 minutes later and said to him, the Fuhrer has decided to stay in Germany.
Oh.
And you're free to leave, to turn your squadron over to the American forces, which he did do. And it was so interesting because he was speaking in Germany, in New York that night. That's what he was there for. And the unique part about him was that his plane was shot down one time. And he had to make his way back to German lines, which he did do. And German officers and even enlisted men, they wore their decorations all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when he finally made it back to German lines, the officer that met him there saw this, and he didn't know what to do. It was really funny on it, but it's very interesting when you have a spirit that's still connected to something.
Yes.
And that keeps returning every so often. I just, to this day, I would never get rid of the flag.
No, it definitely needs to stay in your possession for sure,
Right.
because you have a newfound respect.
Yes.
And
that's the important thing. I know it.
Yes.
Which people lack that respect when they go on an investigation and they start, like I said before, commanding spirits to appear, commanding to come. Just the way they talk sometimes is very strange. I know
very
it.
condescending to a lot. I mean,
Right.
you need to speak to them like you would a human being.
We've never done that. We've never done that.
I
We've never
respect you
done that at all. We run a Mari Provich show. It was very interesting because my daughter was called up, on stage on it. We were sitting in the audience on it, and the things that happened. I can't think of the fellow's name now. That was there also on it, and it was really interesting on it because it didn't take that long, and we really enjoyed it on it because we were picked up by a limousine that he sent for us to pick us all up.
Oh, nice.
Bring us over to the show, put us up in a hotel. After the show, immediately after the show, we had to bring our belongings to the show on it. And immediately after the show, we were back in the limousine again and brought back to Jersey on it. Very strange on it. But
hey, thanks. Here's your
I've
bag.
had so many interesting experiences, Todd, over the years that it's really hard to explain them all sometimes on it. I get, when I think about some of them, I get chills.
Oh, I can imagine. And we have got to get you back. I mean, this hour has flown by.
Oh yeah,
like it always does every time we talk, Richard.
Very quick. I really enjoyed being here, Todd.
Oh,
I have one thing that I like to close myself with is that the soldiers that fought in World War II, I just have to bless these people on it, and I thank them for their service on it because they really experienced a lot and did a lot, and they deserve it on it. And I said I was in during the Korean conflict. I wasn't actually overseas. Okay, I came in at the tail end of it, and it became very interesting. I know it. The research I've done over the years, and the people I've talked to, you many times, And it's mind-boggling. I know it. I've lectured in libraries, local libraries, and I just can't. I wouldn't have wanted done anything different with my life.
That's why I've always called you.
Once I started, I know it.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this hour with you, Todd.
Oh, it's
I look forward to if anybody wants to contact me, they can. Todd, you have my information.
yes, sir.
My books, are out there, and they're still available. They're still in some, well, mostly local bookstores. I know it. The books, I know it. And this book that we have now, that I did, the Ghost of the Hindenburg disaster. I self-published that book. And I'm sure anyone that reads it will really enjoy it. I know it, and they'll understand a little bit more about what happened at that particular time.
It's worth it. I love the documentation that's in it to go along, to collaborate. Everything just flows.
Very interesting. And one thing, guys, I live close to Lakehurst. Now I live. Before I moved, I lived close to Lakehurst. On there, I was only maybe a half hour away from it. And people in Lakehurst have seen spirits in Lakehurst. Also, on the night of the Hindenburg crash, they sometimes actually see the Hindenburg, on occasions. I know it.
Yes.
But it's on that day, but it may be a day or two difference. You have to do it on that particular day, okay? But it may fall on a different day on the calendar.
Right.
So they've said they've seen it several times, the appearance of it. Very faintly, in the sky.
That'd be amazing.
The town itself is very haunted, Lakehurst. And if anybody goes there, they go to the museum in Lakehurst. I know it. And there's a lot of interesting, items there on it, and especially if they're allowed to get onto the post where the Hindenburg crashed onto it. If they're allowed to get on there, which they haven't been lately on there, but they haven't been opening it for any public tours onto it. They should go on one, because they'll find out for themselves sometimes on it. But like I say, the only thing I do is use the pendulum, and
you keep it simple, Richard, and that's what's important.
Well, the old saying, keep it simple, stupid,
Mm-hmm.
And in my age, I'm starting to get stupid on it,
You and me both, my friend.
Kind of difficult, I know it. But I enjoy it, I know it. And the people here that live in the same building with me, we enjoy talking every night. And you get together, I know it. And, I spoke before them once before here. When I came here, and it was mind-boggling. I know. I mean, they were just so interested in what I had to say, And like I said, Todd, over the years now, I've forgotten a lot of things, So I have to be reminded sometimes of, on an investigation, what we've done and things like that. But listen, I enjoy it. I enjoyed being here with you, Todd. I really did. And I'll talk to you again soon, Todd.
It was my pleasure, my friend, and you have a happy new year. We're going to connect here real soon.
You too. And good night, everybody. I really appreciate, you listening to this. I know it. And, Todd's a great guy. I know it. I can't say enough about him. I know it. I really enjoy talking with Todd.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's most appreciated.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night, my friend.
And Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year to you. Now, everybody else, my goodness, Richard Kimmel. Holy cow, what a treat. What a treat. And he is just a wealth of information. Great friend. be sure to check out his latest book, Ghost of the Hindenburg Disaster. That's available. You can find that pretty much all over the place, folks. It's from Galdi Press. Now, the upcoming shows. We've got some upcoming shows here. What I do with my cheat sheet. I'm still thinking about that flag. And if I had a flag like that, what would I do? Would I do what Richard did? Could I live with that? Could you live with that? Could you live with a haunted object like that, of that stature, in your house? Yeah, I'm curious. Coming up next week, though, we've got an open discussion and question show for you. So bring your questions, bring your good stuff. And January 20th, we're going to be having medium and hypnotist Dr. Mary Barrett's going to be joining us. And of course, on the 27th, mark this on your calendar, we're going to be talking shadow people with Mike Ricksecker. That's going to be coming up on the 27th. And you can find all the latest shows, of course, over there at WLTK-DB.com. Just click on the schedule and you'll find their latest shows, the new shows coming in. Everything's up to date for you. For the most part, there's a few things that need updated, but the schedule is current if you guys wanted to check that out over on the website. And yes, John, a really different approach. A happy new year to each and every one of you. I mean, it has gone by so fast. Christmas is gone. New Year is right around the corner. Wow. All I can say are good things and big things are coming to the station. So definitely stay tuned. Watch the shows. It's important. Check out the station. We'll keep you posted, but good stuff's on the way. So from all of us here at Haunted Voices, Nicole should be back next month sometime. I think she's coming back next month. So she'll be back here joining us as well, if you guys have been wondering about that. Now, you have a happy and safe new year. Don't do anything stupid. Have a happy and safe new year. Make it a good year in 2023, folks. From all of us here at Haunted Voices, have a great season, folks. Bye-bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.